5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Like always, wherever you are, thank you for joining today's live stream where I talk to senior designers from all over the world and where you literally get to ask them anything. But before us getting into this, want to make sure there's actually folks on the call. Let me know where you're tuning in from, listening from. Drop an emoji, drop the name of your country, city. Always want to know where you are tuning in from. So yeah, an emoji. Today's event and live stream is slightly different format than what we're used to. It's not the one guest. We actually have two guests on. It's more of a roundtable, so more back and forth conversation instead of just me interviewing the guests. So let me know if you guys want more formats like this, or where we have three folks instead of two, or you want me to experiment with more different formats like a debate, because that could be quite fun. But if you're happy for something like this, let me know as we get more into this episode. You can drop a comment. But without further ado, let's start this thing. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
All right, we all had folks coming in. Someone from marketing, Jill from Chicago. We have Lene here from US, Texas. Okay, so people are coming in. So as we have more folks, I'll show them on the screen. But let's start with quick introductions and welcome you guys to this live stream, Marketing for Designers Roundtable. Okay, I will start with introductions like always. The founder of UX Playbook, I'm Chris, but before that, a self-taught designer struggling to get into UX. And now I spend most of my time helping designers navigate a fuzzy career with UX Playbook, from building your first portfolio to leading your first design team. But that's enough about me. Our first guest is Nick Zechner, founder of a design studio for AI startups. So let's bring Nick out and see how he's doing. Where can I find Nick? There is Nick. Hey, dude, how's it going?
Hey, Chris. Pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, man. Last time we saw each other was like Lisbon. We said like 8-9 months ago, and it was a very quick one. So yeah, happy to have you on again. I think this is the second time we've done this,
here.
Right?
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk with you guys again.
Okay, cool. For the folks that don't know you and didn't listen to last time, why don't you give us a bit about yourself, dude?
Yeah, sure. So I am the CEO and lead designer at Grauberg, and we help startups to improve their websites, app, and software with product design and UX design.
Awesome.
And yeah, for the last 7 years, I helped startups like Deltia, Telecom, and Digimark to have glow ups for their websites.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you here, because I'm sure you have a lot of insights on marketing for designers, being a design founder yourself, and helping a bunch of startups do this, right? Through product or their website and so forth. Okay, our second guest, let me just bring him on, is Wyatt Fester. And Wyatt is the founder of Dug Studios, a design partner specializing in marketplace, e-commerce, and insurance. And recently, he just launched the Blockwalk app, and I'll bring out Wyatt, and Wyatt can tell us more about everything he does. Hey, Wyatt, how's it going?
Good. How are y'all?
Yeah, very, very good, man. So, yeah, we also met. I mean, it's probably a few months back in Ho Chi Minh City when you came through on your world travels.
Yeah.
Where did you go after Ho Chi Minh?
Man, where did we go? I think we were going to New Zealand, I think was the next stop in Australia. So we just went straight in from there and then did like a month in New Zealand and traveled around and did that. So,
wow. So you literally, did you go from the US to Europe and then to Asia, then to Australia and then back? Did you literally do a full circle of the globe?
Yeah, we just kind of did the loop and then went from there and went down, and yeah, it was great.
That's cool, dude. All right. For the folks that don't know you, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah. My name is Wyatt. I've been in product design for, I guess, a decade now. And yeah, like you said in the intro, it's been a lot of marketplaces, e-commerce, instance and insurance, and, have helped out, startups and Fortune 500 companies. And then recently my focus has been on the app Blockwalk, to be more of a founder side of things. After so many years, I'm like, hey, let's go that route, give it a shot, and make that be my primary focus.
Yeah. I know you've done multiple things. Like you have your design studio, but you also have founded a bunch of apps and stuff like that. So it also is interesting for someone who not only has, client work, but also building your own products on the marketing side. So we'll get into that as well. So let me bring Nick back on. Quick housekeeping from my side, gents, is these conversations are recorded. So for the folks listening, please, if you can't tune into the whole conversation, then it's going to be on YouTube. You can just, look me up. I'm the guy with the post-its on his face. And if you have any questions, of course, you can drop that in the comment and we'll try and bring it up in the conversations. But I want to kick this off first with just kind of introducing the topic so everyone's on the same page, right? So designers do great work, but great work doesn't pay the bills. Like great work alone, I mean, right? Customers, clients, and projects do. So marketing for designers is not really spoken about that much, or it's not really taught, and nobody shares really the details of how to actually do it, right? We think that work stands for itself, but really, if nobody knows about your work, how are you actually going to do that work, right? And a few things I think about it is like, how the hell does a newsletter convert, or what content on LinkedIn drive leads versus like, is YouTube actually worth it or just a waste of time? Like what actually flops, what works, and what would I do differently now? Or what would a designer marketing themselves or their agency or their product do differently? So all three of us want to get into the weeds here. So there's three founders and one uncomfortable question: how does marketing actually work for your design business? And the first topic for this panel here, and I'll flash it on the screen, is marketing strategy, the real stuff. Who wants to kick us off here? The juicy one.
Go for it, Nick. I feel like you got some stuff that's on the tip of your tongue.
No, not at all. I mean, marketing strategy, that's the biggest, the broadest topic you can bring. I guess, like one thing you can say is you can do as much marketing as you want, but if you don't have a good offer that all the eyeballs that you get can deliver to, it's not worth anything. So before you actually start doing all the marketing, creating content and stuff, I at least invested a lot of time into thinking, how can I actually help the people that I want to reach? And I don't know if that's part of marketing or if that's the strategy part, but yeah, you need to know what you sell and what your value is. Otherwise, marketing is a lot harder. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Wyatt? How was it with your app finding the value?
I mean, I think in general, I think like marketing strategy, right? I think it took a long time for me just to realize like how important it is for you like to know exactly who you're talking to, or it's pretty much impossible to sell anything to anyone. And I think so often, especially when you're just like, as designers, like we're so caught up in like the user and who we're targeting, but we always forget like that still applies when you go to like the marketing front and the positioning of what you offer, what you do, what your product does. But if you just are super vague about it, even when you're like creating content or you're doing anything like that, like it resonates with absolutely nobody. And I think that took a long time to start to realize like you don't have to appeal to everybody for some of that stuff to be effective. Like, in fact, if you appeal to everybody, then no one really resonates with it. So I think that's just kind of like some early things that, I think is really important to just consistently remember.
I got a question for Nick. Nick, when you said you got to know your offer, and you said something about helping folks, tell us how you think about the offer, and tell us how you think about being helpful.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for 7, almost 8 years now, and in the beginning I was just like, hey, I do web design, I do UX design. I was only marketing those things that I do. I was only talking about myself. But after some projects or some clients, you realize, hey, they have this problem, or they always say this during conversations, that they have this or that problem. And this is the perfect marketing speak, or the perfect way how to create your offer. So instead of over the years, instead of saying, hey, this is what I offer, it's more about, hey, you can solve this problem for you. And I mean, this takes a lot of time. Nowadays, you can literally just put all the conversations and sales calls you have into Claude, and it will spit out the perfect offer for you.
I was waiting.
But that's how I would approach it.
Sorry.
Yeah, it took us 11 minutes, and we
AI. That's the first. It's basically like we should play a drinking game, right? Anytime we mention a tool or say the word AI, someone on the other side of the world needs to down their drink, like, and then see who gets messed up first. So if you want to play along, just you can get some water. It doesn't matter. But every time we say sorry, you've just got to down it. So Wyatt, I want to like shoot the question back to you as well. Like, how do you think about offer, and like how does marketing strategy sort of complement that? Like, what are your thoughts as you've just launched something, Blockwalk? So how does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. For me, I think offers is like, yeah, what's the end result somebody's getting out of the offer, and what's the biggest pain point to them immediately? Like, I think a really good example is probably, recently I was on a call with potential prospects, right? And you go on there, you talk to them, you say, here's kind of what I charge, what that is for, design services. And because the ticket can be high, if you're not super clear with what they're going to get on the outcome of that offer at the end result, then like they hesitate. And so, that's like sometimes a learning lesson. So I think it's like being very clear about what that end result is. And I've noticed that especially if it's like not a super warm referral, or maybe something a little bit more cold, like it becomes even harder for them to do. And so like if I don't know, for me, it's like if I'm charging monthly for something for an offer for somebody, right, to do consulting services, it's almost like an easier offer to be like, hey, we'll do a small project together and we'll get this result outcome to prove to you the value before moving forward into like a partnership, right? So that's kind of, I think in terms of offers, is like you just have to be very clear in speaking to like what matters to that person or founder or outcome, right? It's less about your services, like Nick said, right? It's more about like what's their pain point, what's the outcome they get, and what's that time frame.
Yeah, it seems to me like a lot of the designers out there think marketing is a bit of a dirty word, kind of like sales. They're like, ew, like, I'm not doing that. It feels cringy or whatever. Again, to the whole point of my work should speak for itself, right? Or the things I've done in the past, but the world doesn't really work like that. And yeah, why do you guys think that is? Like, why do we fail to think about sales and marketing in a more methodical way than those professionals in those field when it comes to designers I'm speaking to and about?
Because I think it gets them out of their comfort zone, right? And a lot of designers like to keep to themselves, right? And just put heads down, do the design work and move on. And they don't like being in the spotlight or talking about themselves. They just want to like, here's what I did, now go look at it. But like if two people see it, it doesn't matter how good it is, right? Unless one of those two people are exactly looking for that, then those two people matter. But the chances of those only 2 people that see your work being the 2 people are a lot lower. So I think it's just comfort zone.
I used
Yeah.
to think when I started out that I'm a creative person and I'm like an artist when it comes to especially UX and web design. And artists, they don't need to tell people, hey, look at my art. They just show it, and whoever wants to look at it, they do. So with that mindset, probably you don't want to publish your work or do marketing, but eventually you have to realize, and you turn more and more into like a businessman. And yeah, then you realize it's just a tool like any other tool to do more of the great work you already do.
What about you, Chris? I feel like you're designer now, master marketer, everywhere with socials and influencer. Like, how do you look at it, or why do you think that that's the case?
I have a really long-winded answer. You ready for it?
Yeah, buckle up. I'm ready.
All right, boys. Okay, so some context for the folks out there, and this is kind of shifting, and I was kind of talking about this behind the scenes with you guys, where I used to run a product company, right? A product company that makes media. So the content exists to serve the product. So every piece of content, where it's videos, newsletter, LinkedIn, or live stream, is acquisition and retention for something people pay for. So that, in this case, is UX Playbook. And the media is really the moat, or the distribution is the moat, but it's not the model, right? So I'm still selling the product, right? And then over the time of like just trying to market UX Playbook, I accidentally became a media company, where I found that if I started posting content, I would gain a following, and then brands would be interested in terms of sponsorship, and slowly revenue grew and overtook UX Playbook, right? So from product company to accidental media company. And then now I'm in the point where I'm transitioning to an intentional media company, right? Media company, which is one that makes media as the product, right? The content is the business. So sponsorship, views, subscribers, all that stuff, that's the revenue model. And UX Playbook are sales as a bonus, right? So, okay, so with that context, product company, accidental media company to intentional media company, I think about marketing in certain ways, and this kind of like funnels into our platform conversation. So it's a trust ladder or a trust funnel. So with each level that I'm going to be speaking about, is more commitment is required from the audience or the person that consumes the content. So for example, LinkedIn is the first layer. It's awareness, growth, and it's more discoverable, right? That's the play for LinkedIn. For newsletter, it's deeper relationship, deeper one-on-one relationship, different from when you're scrolling on a feed to you getting something in your inbox, right? And then the third layer is actually this, what we're on now. It's interaction, it's community. You actually get real-time interaction with me, and it's for longer. It's an hour versus a post could be 30 seconds, a newsletter could be a minute, and then this could be, at least 5 or 6 minutes is what the data says. So that is kind of how I'm thinking about the marketing now. And the rebrand that I'm going through is a huge bet on that, right? Because my hypothesis is that brand, along with packaging, matters more than ever in the world we're in, because content is being so commoditized. It's so easy to make stuff now. And I think more designers should lean into this if they want to stand out, brand that is. And it's obviously not just the visuals, because that's the obvious thing you see in a brand, but positioning, storytelling, distinct identity, something that's emotional, and ultimately the goal is to be memorable. So when if you're thinking about, what design podcasts out there or newsletter out there, hopefully you'll think of mine. So that's kind of the transition I'm going through now. And that's kind of the layers to my marketing strategy. Yes, that was very long-winded.
No, I think that's super helpful, which it made me think, like, like the brand and like more designers should lean into that. Like, I think we hear so much about personal brand, and like how do you position, like what, like explain that a little bit more to me, because I'd love to know your take on like, what does it really mean to have like a strong personal brand, and how does one develop that, especially from like a designer's angle, right? Like if you're kind of creating content, you're just starting, you're already deep in the trenches of doing it, but you don't feel like you've created like a personal brand for yourself. Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many cliche things I could say at the moment, but one thing that I really liked where Chris Do basically said, you just like lean into your weirdness, and I think what he means is like your unique point of view, your idiosyncrasies, and like things that make you uniquely you. So I think with personal brand, it is almost an amplification of like core beliefs that you've had and core things that basically dictated your journey to where you are now. So I think those need to be amplified, because I don't think it's the same for everybody else. And if there's a mix mash of like, let's just say you love philosophy and you like martial arts. Well, who's the blend of that? It's Bruce Lee, right? And it's very unique in a sense. And there's a lot of other folks out there that have blended. For example, Sam Harris has blended neuroscience with meditation, like seemingly opposite sides of the world. But I think it's kind of finding that for yourself, and it could be a lot of different things. And then for designers out there, they are also uniquely positioned in terms of the skills they already have to kind of make folks feel it more through like visuals, for example. And I think, if you're a copywriter, of course, words are a great way to communicate this as well. But if you're a designer, I think you can lean into your strengths of creating the visuals. But yeah, for personal brand, it's kind of weird. I think you guys have found this as well, where you are the founder. So therefore you have to be founder led in terms of marketing. And it's much easier to grow a personal account than, for example, DuckDuck Studios, right? And that's why I chose to kind of do all the content under Chris and then just have brands underneath, because I think Chris's brand will follow him. Whereas the other brands, I could decide to sunset it tomorrow and it'll be fine. But that is kind of how I think about it. Nick, anything to add there, or how do you think about this?
I totally agree with showing your face as the brand, as the logo, instead of growing a channel especially on LinkedIn. I always say that your face is your logo. You don't need a logo designer, just put a profile picture. But yeah, imagine, maybe also a question to you guys. Imagine everyone on your team runs a channel on LinkedIn, posts about stuff that they are interested in, and gets reach through their personal brand. Imagine all of these channels getting together and pointing towards your product, your service, how big that's going to be. Because companies do that already. For instance, Lemlist, many C-level people of this software just post content about marketing. The designers talk about design, engineers talk about engineering. And that's how you do marketing nowadays. They are just building personal brands. And not just the founders, everyone on the team. How do you think you could see that for your future employees or current employees as well?
Wyatt?
My thoughts on personal brand? Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of what you guys said has resonated. For me, I think one of the things that even like maybe I even struggle with maybe is like, how do you know if that personal brand that you want to portray is working, right? Like, do you know even, or is it just like, you just go with it, right? And you're like, I think this is what it is. Like, this is what my vision is for it. And like, you kind of just trust that if you're authentic to yourself, then that will evolve into it. Right. Like, I guess for me, like I thought a lot about it. Like, yeah, I used to think maybe it was the visuals and the way you do things and the way you portray, who you are. But the more I've thought about it, I think, yeah, it is like, just like what makes you uniquely you. And like, is there some sort of like a signature that every single time somebody engages with your video, like that's what they think of, or that's what they remember. And what kind of that piece is. And I think it's something I'm personally still trying to figure out on the personal brand side. But I think if anything, like me, I'm like, I more am in that mindset of like, I want to give out that thought as like, hey, I worked 10 years in corporate and now I don't want to go back to corporate. I want to be a consultant, a freelancer, and a builder because I spent enough time full-time on teams to where like that does not interest me like it once did. And I'm trying to hold steady on that mission and that brand and be like, you can make it on your own. It might be hard sometimes, but like, just try. You don't know what you're going to be able to accomplish if you don't give it a shot. So
Yeah, exactly. And when I was going through this rebrand, I basically spent like 6 months like DMing folks, be like, yo, so do you have a couple of words to describe my brand? And it's interesting. And I pasted it all into a document and then ran it through quick, down your drink, AI. And so there you go. And yeah, it was interesting what they said. And it was definitely not what I think they would describe, but I was happily surprised. I was like, oh, okay, this is good. Like, so it's a question of then, do I lean into more of that because that resonates with them? Or do I say, actually, that's kind of not where I want to go, right? And yeah, so maybe an interesting exercise. If you have a list, a newsletter, it could even be a survey question, like in your automation sequence. And to your point, Nick, of would you get your employees to create content on behalf of the company or as a way to generate interest? I think I would, but yeah, like I think I would. I've seen a lot of great companies do it, like your example of Lemlist and Lovable and Beehive, and I think it's just fast-growing companies are obviously caring about that, and that's part of the job. But because of what I'm doing is so, I'm a bit uncertain of where we are. So if I was a little bit sure on like a bigger mission and quote unquote offer that I'm like, okay, this is the one, then I probably would. If I'm leaning into design media, maybe they can talk about behind the scenes of how we do stuff, systems. We actually experimented with this. So I think we did it for like 6 months. And my partner did grow a bit of a following. And then like, again, focus on the main thing. And then like the side thing died. But it did work for a minute. And there was some opportunities that we found, like, can we build Notion systems for other creators? So like, it is interesting. There's definitely some viable like product ideas and pain points you can surface.
Some question, because we talked about personal branding now, but imagine you're a designer, you just started out and you got told you should do marketing. How would you approach doing that? And is it actually, do you even need to think about personal branding when starting out, or just get out your content, your designs, or whatever
Get
you
it
want
out.
to post?
I don't think you need to start with personal brand. I think you need to get it out, get the reps in. That's my take.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like it doesn't really, because knowing designers, knowing myself, knowing if you're going to spend months on personal brand trying to figure that out, and when you could just put a video out the next day, or write a post the next day, and that's one step better, right? It's going to suck and it's going to feel awkward and it's going to be weird, but you just have to put in the reps and slowly but surely you get better.
Yeah, I think a lot of job seekers are also thinking about that, right? The personal brand. It's like, oh shit, how do I like stand out? How do I reach these employers? And how do I make these connections? And I feel like the folks that are looking for work nowadays, or coming into the market, or switching from job to, it's like way harder now, because now online is one of those things that they have to care about. But yeah, like just spam posting is fine, like at the beginning, right? Like literally, yeah, there's probably bigger fish to fry than making content. Yeah.
You know what's so interesting is like I thought about this the other day about like what content does, or like what creating and getting your name out there means. And it's almost like, if you think about it, the way I've been thinking of lately, it's like personal SEO for you, right? Like we always think about SEO as like a business or as a company. You write articles, you do keywords, people come from Google search, do that. But like, what happens if somebody searches your name if you're not creating anything? Like, it's harder to find you. But if you are like hammering content on different platforms, you're sharing your work, you're doing that, somebody searches your name, they're going to find everything and anything that you want to know to show who you are, what you're doing, the work you're doing, the content you're talking about, your expertise. You're going to show up in searches. If they type your name, they go to videos on Google, your short form content's going to pop up. Like, that makes a huge difference, right? Like if you start posting that, or you have keywords of the work that you worked on and you talk about that and you tag those things, like that's surface area that helps you. And I think that's probably something that like people don't really talk about much, but like personal SEO is a real thing.
Yeah. Sean Puri calls it the binge bank. He says when he tries to hire someone, he just basically goes down the rabbit hole. And if the binge bank is not good, then it's an immediate no, right? But if it's like, oh, I need to consume the next thing they're doing and the next thing, and how big is the actual bank? I think there's definitely something to it. The problem also is, like, you should be able to, you need to curate that at one point, because oh god, like, remember the first videos we've ever made on YouTube? Like, have you guys removed them, or are they still there?
Nope, they're still there, because the chance is like nobody saw it anyway, so that shit's not popping up on SEO anyways. It's probably way down there. That's and right. Hopefully by the time people find that, you've got enough traction to where they're just like, oh, look how far they've come. Right? Like, that's my thought about it.
Yeah. It's always good to see. Exactly. All right. Let me move us on to the next topic, and I'll flash it on the screen. Let's talk about LinkedIn. So again, I want to find this question at you guys, because I've traditionally been very bad at this, which is like, how do you actually drive clients and leads through LinkedIn? Because what I've been doing is purely one-time product sales. So that's traditionally a lot easier self-service, but a high ticket, high touch kind of service. How do you guys do this? Like, this is the name of the game. This is the holy grail of LinkedIn, I think. Who wants to go first here?
Wyatt, you want to go first?
I mean, I would say that I'm newer to it in terms of like the creation game. So take from what you will. I'll tell what has worked for me and then what kind of hasn't, at least in that. But for me, I think what is worked on that is being very authentic to me and my story, and telling my personal story and sharing what my journey, and that I'm building things as like a founder, because that correlates and has other founders relate to that. And oftentimes that's what will make them reach out, or the difference choosing between me versus somebody else, because they say they like that I'm a founder and that I'm trying to build things, because I understand the nuances of a business. I understand those different levers you have to pull, and when, it makes sense to do that. And sometimes it's like telling them, like, you shouldn't spend money on design, right? Like, I don't think that's a smart choice, but I'm happy to talk with you, right? Or like being honest about that. And I think that builds rapport. Tactical wise, I think it's just remembering, at least for me, is like, rarely the first time somebody engages with your content are they ready to purchase. It could be 6 months down the road. So yeah.
I can only add on top of that. I've been doing LinkedIn, I would say, consistently for 2 years now. And one thing I learned there is that there is content that gets public, that goes viral, gets a lot of engagement. And then there's content who actually gets you messages and chats and meetings with potential clients. And those two pieces are not the same. I can show you all my posts that ever went viral. They have so much engagement. I even got like followers and so on. But those are usually designers who like your design stuff, or just general people that are not really interested. But then I post something like a recent client project that I finished, or a promo video of a new rebranding that we did for a customer. And this is what actually gets like, I don't know, maybe 10 likes or 200 impressions. But then you get one message and people say, hey, I saw this, I want this, let's talk. And that's like the one thing you need to learn. Like, yes, you need to show content that also reaches a lot of people to get in front, to show your face, but the real content that actually drives clients, as the question says, is the not so sexy content, the results, the case studies that you post.
I think it's a great point.
Why don't you just spam that content then? Like, why can't you just fill pipeline and then hire 100 designers? You're like, there's no reason I should do it now.
Well,
Amazing. That's the best reaction.
I mean, I think in reality, wouldn't it be like, if you're doing deep, meaningful work that you couldn't post daily, that kind of meaningful result-based content, right? Like, because it takes time sometimes to be able to have that, right? Like, I couldn't post a daily win every single day that drove really, really meaningful metrics myself without me just completely making shit up, right? Like, I'm not naive to that, to knowing that, like, sure, maybe if I had an agency that had thousands of clients that we work with on a monthly basis or something, it was big, like, yeah, then you could do daily wins. Or like you had like 100 clients a month or something, like, sure. But like, that's not the reality. So you have to almost like maybe once a week you could do it, right? And then the other ones are ones for reach, like Nick said, right? Like, at least that would be my thinking, because yeah, it's just not reality. It's like, are you going to have a case study every single, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder from you, Nick, is it results orientated stuff? Is it a testimonial? Is it impact? Or is it just showing the work? Because showing the work you can probably do daily, right? Exploration. You see a lot of brand designers do this these days, and they still close clients. Like, here's 5 logos I did, but they all got cut. So yeah, I'm wondering what type of content specifically for you, like, if you know, like, dry, or what's like your sense of what actually drives people to DM you?
So I've tried a few different variations. I've tried like testimonials. I've tried just naked screenshots of the design I did, as well as case studies. I can't say which one is the winner, because usually it takes a few steps. It's not like, hey, they see the post, they send a message. It's usually like a few weeks after they say, yeah, like some time ago I saw your case study, that's why I wanted to have a call. There are some type of posts that actually instantly get a message from the audience, and they maybe get like 100 views or maybe 2 likes. And this is like when you say, hey, a new spot just freed up in my agency, please book a call. They look so unsexy, but these are the ones that actually get you like a message, but only because you posted content over the last 6 months already, and they know what your work is, that you showed it through testimonials, through case studies. So I guess it's a mix of all of that. So you need the viral posts that get you the eyes, you need the value posts and the design work, and eventually this tiny little piece at the end of the funnel actually puts messages into your inbox.
It's like, I would assume it's like, you know, how marketers talk about nurturing, right? Like, you're essentially nurturing just on your form of media, right? Like, you don't, like, people that write newsletters to huge audiences, you nurture. They're not buying on the first times they put an offer out. It's like after they've seen 30 of your newsletters, maybe, then they buy. because they've built trust with you, I guess. So it's, I guess, probably similar, right? Like the clients that you get or message you see your stuff, they like your stuff. You're kind of on their radar, and when they're ready to make that purchase, it's there.
Yeah. And maybe one more thing I wanted to say about trust. I recently had a new customer come in for the design studio, and they joined the call and they talked to me like they knew me already, like they've known me for half a year. I was like, how do we know each other? Where do you know me from? And he said he's been silently following me on LinkedIn for the last 4 months, never liked, never commented, nothing. And he said, yeah, no, I just needed to wait for the fundraising round to finish. Now I'm ready to work with you. And this level, I mean, you need some patience, but this level of trust, I think you can only generate through consistent content, through maybe building a little bit of a personal brand and actually showing up every day. But after that, you don't need to worry or be afraid of sales, because it's super easy. You just say, yeah, you already know me. Here's my price. Let's go.
Okay. There's a couple of questions about LinkedIn here. I'll help us read it out. What about a before and after redesign post to accommodate designers' interest that links to a case study that gains interest from potential customers to walk them through your process? Have you done any of this stuff before and after redesign that goes deeper into a case study? And how has it worked for you guys?
So what I learned is that complexity kills trust and like going viral. So it's super easy to just show something beautiful. And it sounds weird because just show something beautiful. If you could show the whole case study. But if you just show the beautiful design that you made, maybe a little bit animated, I think that works a lot better than going into like a before after, because if you show before, you also show half of the picture is a really ugly UI. And on LinkedIn, you don't have that much chance to shine. So for me, at least it worked for me, but maybe Wyatt or for you, Chris, you have some different experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's, before and afters help just to get content out. But yeah, it is kind of sometimes the missing piece. And like that also, like that it requires them to take a step further and then go read through your case study and like do all of that. And maybe they're not quite there yet, right? And so like highlighting more of the results in that, I think, is helpful. Like I think the ones that seem like they do well and get interest are like, like you said, the ones that have a little bit of a visual gifts and that stop a little bit of the interest, takes a little bit more effort. And then if you can tie metrics to them, right, like that captures attention and at least creates interest.
Another question for you guys. How do you go about creating content and finding what your audience is looking for when you first start posting consistently?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I'll start about how creating content started. I think it was just like knowing that I needed to share more of what I was doing and get out there and start experimenting. And it was very, very overwhelming at first. The idea of posting all the time. And I was like, what am I going to post about? I don't know. And so I think I just started like, okay, I'm going to post twice a week and be okay with that. And if I can do that consistently for 3 weeks, then I'll up it to three times a week. And then when I feel confident doing that, then I'll do 5 and then do that. And so just like slowly getting it up there really helped, I think. And then you kind of just let the engagement will tell you kind of what resonates with people, because like the algorithm pushes things out when people resonate with it, right? Like, or, majority of some of that stuff. And over time, like it just became, you sit down once a week and create content. If you batch it, and it just became easier over time. And then like what used to take 8-10 hours to complete took like 2, because you just like find a system and a process that takes time. And then you're almost like, it's easy after a while. Writing content is not easy per se, but it gets easier. And yeah, and then you just kind of let the results speak for themselves. You start to notice it, right? Like, and I think another thing for me, at least just like consistency, was like, if something was top of mind, I don't have to stick to my plan, right? Like, talk about it. It feels more natural, feels more organic, feels more authentic to you and to me. And usually that comes off in what you create. And especially if you're in video, right? Like, if everything is like, for me, if everything's in script, I know, Chris, you're a little bit opposite on the scripting side probably, but like, for me, if everything's scripted, it sounds nothing like me. It's just not who I am. I'm not like a script a thing, read the teleprompter, do that. Like, that's just not how my brain processes. But if it's like a thought in my mind and I just brain dump, like, you can tell, right? And I think so. It's just like finding something that feels authentic to the way you are as a person. Circling back to how we talked about personal brand, right?
Mm-hmm. Nick, how do you figure out what your audience want when you first start creating? Because you said you've done this for 2 years consistently. What has been your, from start to like how do you know what the people care about?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't. So I just posted about stuff that I really cared about. I created YouTube videos that I thought is interesting to me and other friends in my bubble. And eventually you might get a few comments or messages of people saying, hey, this is really interesting. I have a question about this. And then you make a video about this specific question. You might have like customers or clients to work with. They also have questions all the time. And then you just try to build like a public FAQ of answering those questions. And I think eventually you will figure out more and more what people are actually interested in. And on LinkedIn, I think it's a bit toxic sometimes because it's hard to differentiate, is this topic interesting or did I just write a good hook for this post? Because you can have I just recently saw a post. Someone said, Claude is dead. Then they like show more. They said Figma is dead, Claude is dead, ChatGPT is dead. This was a rage bait. Thanks for the publicity. And that works. So 0 content, 100% hook. I forgot how I got here.
Yeah, if you want the views, just do rage bait.
Yeah. Technically, yes. And so the rage bait is views, but actual valuable content and design work is customers.
Yeah. I'm gonna move us along as we're a bit short on time and I'm cognizant of your gentleman's time. I want to talk about newsletters because this is something that I'm thinking about quite a bit recently, but it begs the question, how to run one that converts? Like, how do you guys think about this? What have you tried? What has worked? What has not worked? Like, tell me about how you think about newsletters. Let's go to you first. Do you currently run a newsletter or you're looking to go into
Not anymore. I did in the past for like 2 years straight, but
right.
It was not relating to design. It was for a business. And so I can speak to that and what worked in that for me. Because like, to preface it, I worked for 2 years on like an email marketing tool and so like I immersed myself in everything email. I am by no means an expert at email, but I spent 2 years, all of my time on that. So for me, what I learned through the process of doing like an email newsletter was the nurturing is really important because they have to build trust. The first few times that people read your newsletter, they're probably not going to buy. The third time they read it, they're probably not going to buy. The 10th time, they probably won't buy, but it might be like the 15th time, right? Like it takes a good amount of time to do that. I also think is like, there's a big difference between, so I thought about this morning. I wrote this down because I think there's 3 kinds of people that read your newsletter, right? I think there's the buyers that will buy for you at some point. There are the lurkers that will likely never buy from you. They just are there for ideas, to get knowledge, maybe they're a builder and they're just like looking, getting information. And then there's the supporters that are like friends, family, people to just, follow that to understand. Right. And I think those are the three people that read probably your newsletters. And so if your audience is not if like you don't even have the right people subscribed, it doesn't matter what content you're writing, you're never going to make sales through it. Because it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If they're not the right people, they're not going to open it. They're not going to read it. They might have subscribed once and realized this isn't my content. So I think that's first and foremost, like you have to make sure you're getting the right people on there, or it doesn't matter what you're writing. And then secondly, like some of the signals, I think just in general, like if you are writing a newsletter that converts, like people will start to respond to your newsletter without being completely imprompted. Like you don't ask them to, they just do. Like, this is awesome. Like, I love this. I did this last week. Oh, I went there. This is super cool. Like, oh, I understand how the sausage is made, but I still purchased from you, right? Like that was one of my favorite ones is they're like, respond to me like, damn it, Wyatt. Like, I know how the sausage is made. I'm an email marketer, but I still purchased this offer from you. Like, that's how I feel like you're at least writing stuff that resonates with people and makes sales. And I think that's anytime I got sales for a product, it was through the newsletter, oddly enough, right? Like, so if you're writing to the right people, like, don't worry so much about the size of it if it's to the right people, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's kind of like how I thought about it. I was trying to see if I wrote anything else down. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess, my thoughts.
Yeah, I also think frequency is a big one as well. Like, typically, the more you send your newsletters, the more sales you get. Like, if there is an ask, right? Not just like talking about something that's unrelated to the offer. So I think there's a lot of people who have email lists, but they just don't send enough emails and don't actually ask or educate if the pain needs to be poked at a little bit, to be like, hey, there's something that can actually solve that. And yeah, every time I do a newsletter blast, there's a product sale. And it's no accident, because like I've actually asked for it. I'm like, hey, by the way, there's this thing. So I think that's something folks should definitely double click on, where it's like, hey, don't be afraid to send new like email blasts more regular than you're currently doing. I mean, don't do it all the time, but if there's something that is like a sale or something important coming up, then you should, like Black Friday, for example, it's like everybody is driving to this one date. So should you. And it should remind folks, because people forget if they don't do it straight away, they get distracted by another red notification. So it's like remind. And I did that last Black Friday. It wasn't like the most successful one, but it was probably such an onslaught of email that people hated me. But it did drive a significant amount, right? A meaningful amount. And it's like emails is so powerful because it's that one-to-one tool. Because nobody's going to give you their numbers these days. You can't text people like this. That's just weird, right? But emails is still okay. It's quite interesting. How have you thought about this, Nick? Like think about conversions through your newsletter. Does that align with the people you're trying to serve?
Just one thing I wanted to add from before. When Alex Hormozi, like big YouTube creator, did his book launch, I think I got 50 emails in like 1 or 2 days. Just like, hey, we're live in 4 minutes, 3 minutes, and so on. So I really, really like that you said that, the frequency. Yeah, so like I know that in my newsletter there are a lot of designers, and I usually don't send, in a normal newsletter, don't send anything specific to buy something from me or to book a call with me. But I do see how people engage with my content. There are some links, or maybe I do have an offer somewhere at the bottom of the email. And then in the email tool, you can tag those people. And this is where I actually send a proper offer. So I do put a lot of value into my newsletter. I have quite a good open rate still. So I think it's interesting and a lot of value. So if you are a designer, feel free to subscribe. But you will never get like a direct offer unless I see you're a founder, you're interested in fixing your design. And that way, I would say it's a bit hard to say the newsletter converts. I just see who actually is a right fit in the newsletter. But it's super personal. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have not really like I think when I think about, well, the question like newsletter, how does it convert, or how to run one that converts? I would like to reframe the question in terms of emails. How does emails convert? Because I think that's actually a better way to think about it. Like, having a newsletter does not necessarily mean that it's successful and it's revenue generating or whatever. I think targeted emails is definitely way better. So it could come from places like a lead magnet. Here's this problem that this thing is solving for you. You download the free thing, and then over the course of, let's just say, 2-3 weeks, I send you 12 emails about the thing, and each one more valuable than the other. And then at the end, it's like, okay, well, now you've got the knowledge. Do you just want to get the thing that solves the initial problem of why you downloaded it? And it includes all those things that you've read about, like, as you said, why earlier, the nurture, right? So that email sequence of like how you talk about the thing that leads up to the offer is interesting. And then, so if we go back to the newsletter, for me, I always say 3 ways I can help you at the end, but actually I'm throwing that away. Like, I actually want to go to the direction of the newsletter should be the most helpful thing that someone reads, because there's newsletters that I get that I'm like, when I receive it, I'm immediately opening, or I'll save it and be like, that's on my list this week, and I just don't skip it. And that's the actual goal for the newsletter. And if we're looking at the sort of the new position I'm going into with this media business, one of the conversion metrics would be like, how many people join this live stream from the newsletter, right? Because I'm going to be like, hey, this is happening, jump on. So that would be my conversion metric. And then another conversion metric would be how many brands actually support what I'm doing through the newsletter, on the live stream. So those are actually how I'm running it. And when we talk about brands, the conversion is a bit different. Like, I'm not necessarily, I don't have a sponsorship, learn about partnership newsletter. I'm emailing them, and I'm emailing them a bunch of times, and then eventually we either jump on a call or they self-serve buy or whatever it is, right? So, but yeah, I think emails is super interesting, but of course it can get spammy very quickly. So it's such a thin line, newsletters, emails, that form of communication, right? Yeah.
I think it's an underutilized channel that designers don't think about, right? Like, I will say that once I read a bunch of books, worked on an email product for a few years, it completely opened up my way of thinking in business in a way that I'd never even thought of. Like, it connects channels in your brain, for me at least, that was like, oh shit, that's like how the things work, and that's how nurtures work, and that's how people get leads in, and that's how they keep moving them to customers and understand it. Like, it's just like this weird web that like feels very ominous if you've never gotten into it. But like, once you do, you're like, okay, you start to see, and then you start to see opportunities in other areas. And like, I think like that knowledge alone will help you a ton when it just comes to like business, even if you're not like, trying to get clients or something. I think just business in general will make you more effective in your job just from understanding how that side of things work.
100%. I just want to add one thing. If you are working as a freelancer with clients, like, obviously you're not just following up because they haven't paid you. Like, that's the obvious one. But in general, you want to check in, and you want to keep this relationship open, nice, warm. And because if they've bought from you in the past before, the likelihood of them working with you again is pretty damn high. So really, there should be some automation or reminder that you set up where you can just say hi, check in. And I do this with all the brands I work with. I do a thing that I summarize all the social media metrics, and I send it to every single brand I work with. And I'm just saying, like, hey, thanks for a great year. Even if we haven't worked together this year, but we worked together one of the years before, like, just want to say hi, thanks, and whatever, right? And you could do this for your clients. Like, what's a Spotify wrapped version of the job that you do, but for your clients? What could be something helpful? And it's always nice. I think, as a client when someone's thinking about you. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a wrapped. It could just be like, oh, there's this new like insurance thing that's quite interesting, or this big company got acquired. And then you just send it to your client and be like, oh, did you hear about this? You're in insurance, right? Has this affected you? And it's like any excuse to say, hey, I actually care, and it's not transactional, I think just builds such a better working relationship. And that again is, these are the things that you learn when you go into emails, right? Like when you dive into what it actually means, the psychology behind humans. So it's very interesting.
That's so interesting. I heard another designer business owner that was like running an agency, and they have started to try to send a physical gift at the end of a project wrapping up, right? Because like that's something you remember. Like, and like if it's cool enough, maybe they'll keep it on a shelf or something, or like meaning something to them. But like they will remember that, and they will probably give you referrals if you did a good job. They will do that. Like it's amazing, like what that could do.
I've heard
That's so cool.
I've heard a creator send a gift once the partnership is signed, and I'm like, what? That's mind blowing. And she's worked with her partners for years, like big names like Canva, for example. And it's like she's like, everybody, like, I'm your best friend as soon as we start working together, and I want to show you by sending you like a custom gift box. And I was like, huh. And it's, a few $100, but the contract is worth way more. And that person will move to another company, but always remember that sort of feeling, right? Super, super interesting. All right, let's talk about YouTube. Wait, quick time check for you guys. How long do I have you for? I know we're at time. Do you have a meeting? Are there things on? Okay.
No, all good. All good.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about YouTube and short form. Has it worked? Is it worth it or not? This is the biggest question ever. Oh my God, YouTube sucks. Anyway, let's go.
For me, I think it's starting to. And I'm just talking for like Blockwalk, right? Like my app. I think that's been so far still early, obviously. Been hammering it 4 times a day, shorts, testing hooks, testing formats, things like that. It's getting the most views. It seems like that's where downloads are coming from. While small, it's a good sample size. More comments than any other platform, shares. So it's like those kind of are indicators, I think. Like views are one, but when people are making comments and engaging and saving or sharing, like those are bigger indicators that like something's resonating. So I think for me, like, yeah, that's been one that I think so far has been good. You also can like grow your subscriber rate insanely faster than just doing long form. Like I would be willing to bet that by the end of this next month that subscribers on Blockwalk's channel will beat my personal channel.
No way.
Like, and it's obviously not bad, but like, obviously I've been going at it long form only just for myself, like to practice YouTube on my personal channel. If I keep hammering this, there's no chance it doesn't beat it shortly, which is just wild to think about the volume of those.
Okay.
Whether it converts to clients on design side, I can't speak to.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. Nick, thoughts on, is it worth it? YouTube short form video in general?
So are we talking about YouTube short form or YouTube and short form? Because I have a strong opinion on both of them.
I want to hear yours on the long form because it sounds like you've had good luck on that recently. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I love long form. It has been the greatest driver of results in the last 3 months. And the weirdest thing is, and I can share like a personal story. So I posted a YouTube. I don't have any followers, like a few hundred or so. I posted a video about pitch decks. I was really personally interested about how other Y Combinator startups design their pitch decks, and I just posted it. It still, until now, has like 500 views. Initially, I thought to be successful, you have to have like hundreds, thousands of views on YouTube, but it has 500 views. And one customer literally saw the video, message me on LinkedIn. I see it like, hey, one person is live watching the video, and 10 minutes later I get the email, hey, I saw this video, let's do a pitch deck together. And I jumped on a call in the next hour, and again, it felt like he knew me already. And if you think about it, the level of trust you build with long form, it's like sitting in front of each other for potentially hours if they watch more videos of you. And that's something you cannot do with short form. I also, to be fair, I think I just didn't crack short form yet. I posted a lot of short form videos on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and they haven't really done it for me yet. So maybe Wyatt, you can help me out a bit here.
Yeah.
Maybe share some best practices. But long form, damn, this has the biggest return of invest so far for me.
That's so interesting to hear. I had a feeling when I saw your video of the pitch decks, I was like, I feel like this one's going to do good. I had a feeling. I think it's interesting. I don't think I've cracked short form. I think it's just like I'm doing it a lot, but I hate it. I hate short form. It's not. I don't feel like it builds the relationship that long form does. Those are more enjoyable to create, anyways. So that's interesting to hear that that's kind of the stuff. I'm also curious, like, Nick, how did that other one, I think you did one that was like onboarding flows, right? Like speaking to like, here's the most high converting app onboarding flows. And you talked about your, like here's the 4 types, like the, delayed, paywall, really, really far down the experience, the upfront, like all those different types. Like, how did that one do in terms of like speaking to founders' pain points of like those kinds of things?
Yeah, it got me a new client who wanted to have an app designed. And I was focusing a lot on, it sounds stupid. And I think if I check now, the video maybe has like 200 views. But there's so much value in it. There's so much trust that you're building. And now that I think YouTube also a few years ago changed its algorithms, so even smaller channels get a lot of reach nowadays if you have a good video. So all I do is post it in my newsletter, post it on LinkedIn that I have this YouTube video. And yeah, it builds a lot of trust. That's all I can say.
No, I mean, I think that's great. Another kind of like little funny small world story on YouTube long form. I met up with this other like designer and developer when I was in Vietnam, Huy, and another YouTuber, and he, oddly enough, like had created a video on a case study, got a bunch of inquiries and stuff, and then I was working with a client at the time, and she had said that she reached out to this guy because she liked his personal brand and the way he did this video. And so she reached out about a website inquiry, and I was like, oh, that's cool. She's like, I'll send you the video. It was that guy that I met up with. Oddly enough, she's like, I just saw it on the YouTube recommendations and I thought it was so good. She's like, I think that was great. And I was like, that's too funny. Like, it's just how I think it just shows like what stuff resonates with founders, and like you can learn a lot from just like others doing similar things in the space. Go study their long form videos and you can do something like that, right? Like, I think that's a good example of Nick's, of your videos of like, I have a buddy on here, Dana, that's watching. I'm sure he would love, like that probably has helped some of the ideas, just hearing, doesn't need a lot of views to get traction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With your YouTube long form, Nick, do you care much about double downing on like founders that can actually find the video? So, YouTube SEO is a big thing. I don't know if you guys get emails where it's like, yo, let me help you with your YouTube SEO. Just like from like random Gmail addresses or Yahoo, addresses. But do you care much about that stuff? Or you just like, look, this title thumbnail works and this description works and I'll just post it? Or are you getting into okay, I want to make sure I show up to the founders and this is searchable, quote unquote?
I think I haven't been too long into that to give a good answer. I know when Liquid Class came out, I specifically recorded how to do Liquid Class in Figma with the most SEO title ever. And this has actually been one of the less successful videos on my channel. And the ones where I just have my face and one word on the thumbnail and some random title, why you are still stuck.
Those are the ones that do better,
actually
right?
work. Yeah. So I can't say I understand how it works, but I know that it is a big lever for building trust.
Question for both of you then. If YouTube long is a great way to build relationship, but the production of it is not exactly less effort, right? Why don't you do what I'm doing? Why don't you just do a podcast or a live stream? And like, I'm the lazy man. Like, I'm like, I can't be asked to do it. Like, why don't you just do something like this where you could talk about things, you know, with people that are cool, even potential customers, right? That's also interesting lead generation strategy. Why don't you do that?
I mean, I think for me, I think it's maybe the personal brand side of things, like we talked about. Like, I think I'd rather do longer form content because I think I enjoy it a little bit more than I love. Like, live streams are great. I enjoy doing them. But if that was the primary driver or primary piece of content that I made, I don't think I would enjoy it. If that was my only thing, right? Like, I think there's a lot of scheduling behind it, a lot of stuff behind that, you know, production wise, maybe not as much, but all the other stuff behind the scenes of scheduling and prep work and all this stuff is a little bit probably the same, if not a little bit more. But that's just me personally, I think. And it maybe, I don't know, maybe doesn't live on lifespan wise as much. So I don't know. That's just me. I think it's maybe just the creative side of the longer form. Like, sometimes it's just it doesn't always have to be a production thing, right? Sometimes it's just like, I'm going to pull up a camera and talk to the camera if I'm feeling lazy for the week and just do my best.
Nick?
I would give the similar boring answer. I'm just a sucker for good YouTube videos. I love watching good YouTube videos. I hate watching live streams. Maybe it's just the way how I consume content myself.
Yeah. You have to sift through the live stream, right? Are you guys podcast listeners?
Sometimes.
Rarely. Okay. Video podcasts.
Video podcasts,
yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. Yes, I guess some are like, we don't know how heavily edited it is, but we can assume that some are definitely cleaned up. You know, the angles change and there is a lot of post-production work. But then you have Joe Rogan's, which basically broke every kind of like, you know, polished thing. But maybe we're going to the more polished side of podcasts now, where great studios and all this stuff. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm just so lazy, and literally when this publishes, that's it. I'm done. Yeah, the YouTube video, I sit on it for like a week, and I take like 4 hours trying to edit like a minute of footage, and like it becomes the perfection. Like, video always gets the perfectionist out of me, and I'm like, what about the sound? No, you need to ramp it. Like, it doesn't. And then I ended up like cutting the track as well underneath, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Or like, I'm on like freesound.org, and I try to look for the perfect like effect.
Yes.
I'm like, oh
and the
my
perfect
God,
swoosh.
And it's just, oh my God, it's a really fun creative project, right? And it really gets it out of you because you're doing there's so many moving parts, but to do that consistently every week,
that's exhausting. Yeah,
I have not found joy in that. And the reason I stopped both of like my stints at YouTube, I think they were like 8 months each with some months apart, where we were doing like the first 8 months, we're doing a long form every week and a short every day. Again, batch recording that. But I had an editor, so I could do that. But then I completely just was like, okay, if the editor's gone, I'm not doing this. And then the second time, also had an editor. We repurposed the live streams into like 10-minute clips and 60-second shorts. And we're consistently publishing like 10 videos a week, potentially more sometimes. But that's only because it took like nothing from me apart from like editing it on a script based, right? Like content based.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's one of the hardest things to crack. And I think if I do want to crack it, it'll be like, I don't know, like a 5-year journey to get anywhere close to like monetizing or something like that. And it is really fun project in general, like video. Yeah.
It's almost like the craft is what is the enjoy part of it for me. Like I see channels like, and I know they have editors and they have things, but like I don't even remember when I stumbled across, but this like YouTuber Daniel Dalen, and every piece of content he puts out, I love, and I will like consume it, and like that's the quality and the style of video that I would love to shoot for, and so just incrementally getting better at it. Right, obviously, very different audiences and stuff, but like that's the kind of content that I enjoy consuming. I don't want to be a copycat, but that's the stuff that I shoot for in terms of quality in the long run. That tries to make the journey better. Like obviously my content is nowhere near that yet, but if I can get to there someday, I would be very stoked.
Yeah, the craft is so fun. All
Mhm.
right, guys. Okay, let's just do one more question and then we'll call it a day, as we're a little bit like we're quite a lot over. But let me just flash this question on screen. What actually matters more in the long run? Constantly learning new tools or building those core skills? And how do you personally stay adaptable without feeling like you are always starting over, especially as you get further into your career? This one's a deep one, guys. Who wants to take this first?
I mean, I'm happy to.
Well,
You can
yeah,
pick.
go ahead.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think core skills, 100%. Tools come and go. My gut tells me 70% of the AI tools that are launching are going to be dead in a few years, right? Because they're just going to, budget's going to run out. They're not going to be profitable. We will have a crash of AI tools at some point, right? Just like we have with every other wave of some technology, history repeats itself. So skills for sure. To the second point, like how do you personally stay adaptable? Sometimes, I don't know. I feel like it's just ignore the noise, right? Like focus on what you can do to control and better yourself. And like just continue to improve your skills. And that should just like build confidence over time. I don't know. Stay off social media, ironically. Like that'll make you feel better. Stay off LinkedIn as much.
Walk more.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. For me, yeah, it's just like you just have to just ignore the outside noise and just keep on persistent forward. That would be my thoughts.
I think if you really look at the tools specifically, most of them do the same stuff. So like when Adobe XD came out and then there was Figma after that, it was still just another design tool, had new features. And what stayed is, do you know how a good design actually looks like? And as long as you keep practicing the craft and the taste to create continuously good designs, the tool doesn't really matter. However, nowadays there are tools coming out that, at least my feeling is that they will make you a lot faster, especially if you know how to use them well. I'm not gonna drop any names now, but there are hundreds of tools, hundreds of new design tools every day that could be the next new workflow. But at least keep figuring out how can I do what I'm already good at, but faster. And if you're not good at them, maybe you shouldn't try to be faster. You should try to be better first.
Here's my gripe with tools, man. Like I think there's just so many to learn. I mean, like if you just try to learn all of them, are you actually gonna get any work done? I would like to think about it like, hey, if you're trying to solve a problem and there's a tool or there's multiple tools out there, then just pick one and see if you can actually do it, right? Like, for example, nobody goes into Zapier and be like, I want to learn Zapier. No, you want an automation. Like you want something to connect to something, to do to something. So then you find out what tool does this and then you do it, right? Like, I don't think you necessarily need I mean, you might need some core tools like industry standard tools back in the day, like, you know, Photoshop or whatever. But the understanding, I think the fundamentals would always take you pretty damn far. And if we're doing our jobs well, tools will be easier to use and easier to learn, and you get maximum help, right? And now you can talk to it in natural language. So before you had to look at manuals, now you don't. You just talk to a thing, and that's cool. And then I think also this one might just be me projecting. When people talk about adaptability, I think it's actually a fundamental human thing we do. I like, there are some people on one end of the spectrum and the other, but I think like all humans are adaptable. I think if you position this question in this way, potentially maybe you just haven't taken the first step. Again, I could be projecting. I don't know your situation, but I feel like there would, at the end of the day, there will be a choice that you have to make, clear or not, that you have to move into this other thing, like adapt to this other thing. But in general, I think you are very adaptable. Our ancestors are very adaptable. We have been built this way. That's why we've survived. And adaptability kind of comes. It's really if you're proactive enough to say like, oh yes, I will try this versus that, or versus I won't try and just let everybody else try. So yeah, like it's built in, so it's not as hard, I don't think, for some people. Of course, there are potentially traits that lead, or behaviors that lead to someone being more adaptable or not. I'm not going to speak about that, but I just think that, are you asking because you don't think you are adaptable? And then questioning like, what does it mean for you to be adaptable in the world that we live in now? Maybe it's more tools. Maybe it's finding a problem to solve with whatever tool you can, etc., etc. All right, that's enough, guys. Thank you so much. Before I let you guys go, I of course want to share with the guests out here, like what you guys are doing, what's on the docket for you. Let me just flash this. Nick, why don't you tell us about what's up, what you're working on, and where people can follow and find your stuff?
Yeah, ideally, you can follow me on YouTube. I think I have the best content on there, the most fun. If you are a startup founder, then I think it makes most sense if you actually just click the link over there. We usually help startups that just raised their seed round and they are looking forward to get to Series A with design, with pitch decks, and with really, really thoughtful user flows. So yeah, if you're a designer, I think the best spot is YouTube. And if you're a founder, this link will get you where you need to be.
All right, dude. And for Wire, should we flash DuckDuck Studio first?
Sure. Yeah. So similar to Nick, if you need design services, I kind of specialize in marketplaces and insurance. Done a lot of work with startups, getting them to raise millions in funding, or bigger companies like Etsy, right? Helping them drive millions in revenue. So if that is kind of your sweet spot and you probably are looking for a redesign because you've gotten to that product market fit, scan the QR, we'll chat. Got a few openings. And then for the founder, doing Blockwalk, which is an app to block your distracting apps until you hit your daily step goal. This one's very personal to me, right? Like I don't move enough. I sit at a job, at a desk, whole life. So I know I need to move more, spend less time on social media. And so that's where this was created. And so like, this has kind of been my project and my mission now to do this and keep growing this kind of thing. And it's very cool to have this thing be profitable from day one. So super awesome.
All right. Well, gents, before we go, I want to say thank you very much again for coming on and just, we discussed this last week. We made a habit this week. So Roundtable, you guys shared some really good stuff. And I hope it helps folks out there and learn this whole marketing dirty word that they might not want to get into. But it's a real thing. People should 100% believe in themselves and actually talk about it. Right? All right. All right. Okay. Feel free to drop off, guys. I've got to do some like housekeeping and stuff. So again, thanks, and let's speak soon, dudes.
Cool.
All right. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks a bunch.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right, guys. Okay, so before we end today, I want to do a quick reminder about the next live is how to excel as a senior IC. And I will be speaking to Darshan, who runs productdisrupt.com, and we're going to be talking about how side projects can bulletproof your career, how to actually excel, what skills you need as a senior IC, and then his journey of becoming a design founder and how that's helped him in his senior IC journey as well. So if you want to tune into that and think about, okay, well, is that the only level? Like where else could you go after a senior if you don't want to go into management? We're going to get into all of that stuff. So if you want to listen to that and more conversations like this, scan that QR code on the side. Or head to live.uxplaybook.org and you get notified for future events. Of course, these conversations are recorded, so you can find me on YouTube. Again, the guy with the post-it on his face. And feel free to let me know if you like this kind of format where we have more guests on the show, or we experiment more, maybe roundtables, maybe debates, maybe some hot seat questions, whatever you want. Like, I think we should just make this super fun. It's a live stream, so anything can happen. And the more things go wrong, probably the better for you guys as well. Just more fun. But I don't have anything else to say. Again, live.uxplaybook.org. Thanks for joining Marketing Roundtable for Designers. Until next time, bye. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
This is the design of everyday people.